let's go by the table. And we'll start with Sheffield United. The question really is to sack Chris Wilder or to not sack Chris Wilder. That is the question.
I think they need to sack him because as much as loyalty is important in football, it's a results business.
I mean, he did get them out of League One.
Yeah, but at the same time, again, it is a results business. It's
true. Very true. I think they had a stellar season last season, but I think the problem with last season, anyone could see that the problem with last season was that they had a lack of goals in their team, and all they had was a fantastic goalkeeper to keep goals out. This season, they do not have said fantastic goalkeeper to keep goals out. Therefore, they don't score goals. They don't stop. They concede loads. They're done. They're out. They're in the Championship next season.
Yeah,
unless they spend big bucks in the January window.
Yeah, I don't see Sheffield United doing that. I think they're changing. You can't even say there'll be a change in fortunes with the new manager, and I think it's a given that they'll go down. Because it'll be the same crop of players.
They need a goal scorer. That's what they need.
They do. They need someone who's going to get them at least 15, 20 a season. If that means that they have to look to, if they have to look to Europe. I mean, do you know what? I can honestly see players like Ivan Toney, who went to Brentford. I could see him at Sheffield United because he finds the net. And that's the most important thing, is finding the net, no matter how you do it. It's fine.
I will say Brentford are a good club to talent raid. No, I will say they are a good club to talent raid. You know who I think would be an interesting replacement for Chris Wilder? Slaven Bilic. Slaven Bilic, we were talking about him earlier. I think Slaven Bilic would be an interesting appointment. I don't think anyone is keeping Sheffield United up, but Slaven Bilic, appoint him as the Sheffield United manager because West Brom down and dirty. Let's talk about West Brom. They're 19th in the Premier League. Sam Allardyce, well, we can't really grade them. Oh, by the way, what is your grade for Sheffield United? I'm giving them a big fat F.
I'd probably give them a U.
Oh, sorry, I forgot about that. I forgot about you. Ungraded, yeah. I suppose West Brom are also going to have to go ungraded because of... we can't really judge West Brom anymore. I think Slaven gets an E grade, to be honest with you. But you can't grade Sam Allardyce yet.
I think if we're going to grade West Brom, we have to grade it on the performances under Bilic. You can't do it under Sam Allardyce. I think West Brom get an F. I mean, they've got to win this season, which Sheffield United don't have. And the fact is that in those instances, they've had some really good performances. Obviously, you mentioned the Chelsea game, Man City away, getting a draw. They haven't put in a bad performance against these teams. They don't play badly. It's more the fact that they can't stop conceding goals. Same as Sheffield United. So I would say they would have to get I would say it would be an E, a respectable E for West Brom.
A respectable E for West Bromwich Albion. Burnley are 18th. They're on 10 points.
Burnley
I'm deciding.
They're always going to be the team that props up the league. Everyone can agree that Burnley will never light the world on fire. They have been playing well above they have been in a league well above their station for a good few years now. But Sean Dykes pulls it out the bag, and I think again it's one of those cases of they're showing loyalty to Sean Dykes because he keeps them there. But as I said, it's a results-based business.
And I will add that Burnley always seem to do better in the second half of the season. They always struggle first half of the season, but after January, they seem to that seems to be their...
because that's when the pressure's on.
Time. That's when the pressure's on. That's when the oven's on, the pressure cooker's on, and he seems to do well. A team that were my favourites to finish bottom of the league, but I'm pleased that they're not bottom of the league. Because I like the manager, because I think he plays good football. I think he did a miracle to get them in the Premier League. It's Fulham, who are 17th. They're currently drawing 1-1 at Newcastle United. Based on the style of football that they play, I want to give Scott Parker, the manager, a C grade, because I think it was a miracle that they got promoted in the first place, because I think Brentford had a better team than them in that playoff final, and I think Brentford just didn't turn up on that day. The team in general for Fulham, I'm going to give them an E. What about you?
Yeah, I would say an E is solid. I think, yes, they play really, really good football, and that alone can earn you enough respect to give you a better grade and give you the plaudits of all the fans and pundits alike. But at the same time, you're in the wrong part of the table, and you're in the wrong kind of battle. But to add to your point, to do what he's done with the team he's got, and again, not really a lot of massive investment in the summer from Scott Parker into the Fulham side. They're still relying on the goals that Mitrovic provides them. All right, he's starting from the bench a lot now, because I think Scott Parker's trying to promote a new way of playing in the Premier League. Yeah, I'd say an E grade's respectable.
I think they have the same problem as Sheffield United. They need a striker. Well, they need a goal scorer, because Mitrovic is one of those players, and I've said it before, he's too good for the Championship but not good enough for the Premier League. There's a weird void of strikers that are too good for the Championship but not good enough for the Premier League. There's such a gulf in class. There's a weird void of strikers. Simon Cox is somebody that comes to mind, where he played very well for West Brom in the Championship but wasn't exactly setting the world on fire in the Premier League. But there are plenty of players like that. But they need, and Mitrovic falls into that category for me, but they need somebody better. They need somebody better for sure if they want to stay up. Unfortunately, I do still see Fulham going down, because I expect Burnley to have a better second half of the season. I expect West Brom to do a lot better as well. So I do expect Fulham to go down. So what was it? An E for you and an E for me for Fulham. Scott Parker deserves better players, and what I would say to Tony Khan is AEW gets A stars, but can you put your wrestling figures down and spend some money on stop buying 61-year-old men to play wrestling with, your stupid mark, and start buying players in Fulham. Sorry, I'm sounding like Jim Cornette. Brighton and Hove Albion, they are 16th. For me, this is a shocking one, because I thought Graham Potter would do a much... I thought they'd be higher up in the table, because I like Graham Potter. I see him as a, rightly or wrongly, not another Steve McLaren, the England manager, but a Steve McLaren, the Middlesbrough manager. I see him doing quite well, but then I also wouldn't mind if he got the England job at some point. But that's a controversial statement for another day. Brighton, where do you grade them, Tom?
Again, they're another one of these teams that should be higher than the way they play their football, and the team they've got. They could be potentially higher than what their Premier League position merits. If I was to grade them, I'd give them a D. I don't think they've had that bad of a start to the season. I think they'll definitely stay up. I'm 100% confident of that. They've got a lot of players who, but particularly their defence as well. I like Brighton's defence. People like Lewis Dunk and things like that. They are another team who'll probably need an out-and-out goal scorer, because I 100% do not think Neil Maupay is it.
Yeah.
I think they need a striker who's going to bang in goals. Their defence will keep them in the game long enough for the strikers to bang the goals in. If they were to get someone who's lighting up the Championship on fire, then that would 100% be they would 100% be a lot higher. They would be a solid mid-table team, I think, definitely pushing 10th and 9th, with an out-and-out scorer, because their defence keeps them in the game long enough, and they haven't actually got a bad goalkeeper
No,
in
that's true.
Matt Ryan.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
I'm just thinking, why did no one ever try to sign Troy Deeney from Watford? I know he's old. I know he's on the wrong side of 30, but he still gets you goals in crucial matches. He's just somebody that springs to mind. I think Sheffield United. I think all the bottom clubs should be going for Troy Deeney. To be honest with you, I think Fulham, Brighton, Sheffield United. I know he's not a long term option, but for a short term solution, you're trying to stay in the Premier League. If you're going to panic buy, Troy Deeney would be my
but you could
pick.
also argue the fact that Brighton, they don't have, again, that many creative players, in a sense that Burnley don't. Brighton don't have that many players who can pick a killer pass. I'll tell you who I think would probably thrive. Brighton, I honestly think if they wanted to cash in on it, if they went in for Ismaila Sarr from Watford,
Mm,
because
that's
his price
another
tag
good
would have
shout.
gone down significantly with the relegation. If they went for someone like Ismaila Sarr, to someone who can get past defenders, knock balls into the box, score the odd goal, and even then he could still get the odd goal on the counter attack, good old fashioned Route One football. Then I think 100% Brighton have definitely got the draw of being a decent sized club, playing at a good level. They've been back in the Premier League. They've been in the Premier League for a couple of seasons now. I
Mm,
think the temptation would be too good. I know Man United were looking at buying him from Watford at in the transfer window, but
mm.
the problem is that I feel like that Man United have got such quality up top already that he would not be playing as much as he would want to be. How is he going to unseat players like Martial and Rashford? How's he going to unseat, Dan James is obviously coming up good as well. He's another young prospect that they've got, you know. So I think they could have gone for Ismaila Sarr or even Isaac Success.
Oh
Um,
yeah, Rise of Success. That's a good shout. I would see Ivan Toney leaving Brentford or potentially Adam Armstrong leaving Blackburn Rovers for a Premier League club, or even
mm,
you know who I think is really good is the Dominic Solanke at Bournemouth. I could see him potentially leaving Bournemouth, but I do
yeah,
think Ivan Toney's definitely gone from Brentford. I'm very sorry, Brentford fans. I'd love to see you in the Premier League, but I think Ivan Toney's just proven himself in the Championship and give him a shot in the Premier League, see if he sinks or swims.
absolutely. Especially with the lower league club. I mean, like it's a small jaunt from where he is at Brentford to down in Brighton. I mean, for Dominic
Yep.
Solanke, it's just down the coast.
Yeah. So
Uh,
I don't think it's anything radical. I'm going to give Brighton a D minus. I don't think they're good enough for the D grade. But they're not. They're too good for the E grade, but they're not good enough for the full. So I'm going to give them a D minus. That's where I'm going with Arsenal. Arsenal. We don't have to go in detail with this one because we did it earlier. I'm just going to say D minus.
um, I would say D minus, because I don't want to give them the full bad grade, because I still think they've put in
They've got
good
time to recover.
performances and they've got plenty of time to recover. And the thing is, they've got the players already to recover. It's just that the one of the key ones is not playing
Mm.
for whatever reason. They've got the facility, they've got the players, they've got the facility, they've got the youth in order to get them back where they want to be. It's
It's just about unlocking that potential. It's turning that potential into
absolutely,
actual ability and unlocking it.
yeah, and it's also a more detailed approach into understanding what the best 11 is for the club. Um, I think, because I remember when me and you did this show at the January transfer window, just before we finished the show, and we found
Yeah,
out that
yeah,
they
it
had
was
signed Thomas
yeah.
Partey. I think we were essentially saying that that's probably one of the best bits of business in the January transfer in the summer transfer window.
Yeah, we did say that.
the problem is the fact that Partey, obviously, he's had his injuries. He's been out for a couple of games now, and then he was out for 4 games previously with a thigh injury. So he probably hasn't had enough time to kick on. I hope that he stays injury free for the rest of the season, because as long as he keeps Granit Xhaka out of the team, I'm happy. Because I think the discipline at Arsenal is not there. There's no discipline building the players. It is really, really bad. The thing is, before the match against Burnley, Arsenal had not conceded a goal all season from a set play. Whereas the problem under Arsene Wenger is that, and Unai Emery subsequently, was that, that we were conceding a lot from set plays. So you can tell that Arteta has definitely reorganised the defence, and people like David Luiz, all right, sometimes he has his bad moments, and when he does have his bad days, they are very bad. But you cannot deny the size of his personality in the dressing room and how valuable he is in terms of experience to quite a young defence still. When you take into account Rob Holding's about 25 and Gabriel's 22, Kieran Tierney's 24, and Bellerin's obviously still quite young. Having that experience head at the back, because they lost a player like Laurent Koscielny, another experienced player at the back, I think that's what they wanted to bring in. So I think the potential's there. They've got the facilities, they've got the players to actually get, if not back to where they want to be in the top 4, but at least fighting for another Europa League place. Because I think Arsenal's chances of actually improving this season is winning the Europa League, because their performances say as much.
That's a fair shout. So D- both of us for Arsenal. Quickly, Leeds United, I'm going to give a C grade. My biggest problem with Leeds is they concede too many goals, and the reason why is because they attack. The Marcelo Bielsa philosophy is the best form of defence is absolutely slaughtering your opponent with a barrage of shots on target and goals. And unfortunately, it has meant that they've conceded a lot because attacking is the best form of defence in Bielsa's mind. So C grade, I was expecting, I got to say, a little bit more than 14th from Leeds United at this point. I'm not one of these people that were like, oh yeah, instant top 4 because Marcelo Bielsa's in charge. No, I would have liked to have seen where Villa are. Villa are about 11th. That's where I saw Leeds. Up there with Villa and Newcastle. Clubs of a similar ilk that haven't had the best few years, but are big clubs. So that's where I saw them. So, yeah, I didn't see... I saw Leeds doing a little bit better. So I think they get a C grade, and I think that's me being generous.
Yeah, I agree. I think C's generous. I think, they were not going to be fighting straight away with the big lads at the top of the Premier League. But at the same time, I didn't see them in any immediate danger, and the evidence of which, could be seen in their performances in the Championship. So, yeah, I'd say a C grade is fairly
generous.
Just, yeah.
So D for you for Leeds, or is it C minus?
I'd give it a C minus.
All right, C minus. Okay. Crystal Palace 13th. I think that's a B for them because they just want to be in the Premier League. Let's take away the 7-0 defeat to Liverpool today. I think they just want to be in the Premier League next season, and I think Roy Hodgson's the guy that's going to do it. And I don't see them being in any danger despite being 13th. So he gets a B. They don't set the world on fire, so they can't get an A. But quite frankly, for the club that they are and where they want to be, mid-table, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, I totally agree.
So both B grades. Newcastle United, I think 12th place, at the moment, given the result of the Newcastle-Fulham game, which is still watching. The game's probably finished. This stream is probably just behind because I use Now TV. But I see pretty much the same as Crystal Palace, except I'm going to give them a C because they should... I'm kind of with the Newcastle fans that they should be a wee bit more ambitious, but you haven't got really... I mean, I'm not saying Steve Bruce isn't an ambitious manager, but his style of football is not ambitious. It's 1-1, by the way. It's finished between Newcastle United and Fulham. Scott Parker looking slightly glum for some reason. I think that's a good result for them. But anyway, but Newcastle, yeah, I can't give them as good a rating as Leeds, and I can't give them as good a rating as Crystal Palace based on the size of the club and that they've been in the Premier League for a while. Had that Saudi transfer, had that Saudi takeover gone through, then they would be. Well, let's face it, Mauricio Pochettino would be the manager there right now, and they'd be in the top 10. So yeah, I'm going to give them a D grade for Newcastle.
I'd give them a D plus, simply for the fact of the potential of the squad that they've got. I think we still haven't seen. Obviously, it's the first season they've had someone who could probably knock in goals. Obviously, that's what they were missing last season. Obviously, because Joe Linton, just wasn't clicking up front. I think with Callum Wilson now, with the Premier League experience he's got, and the fact that he's still, I think, only about 28, 29, I think he's still got a good couple of seasons in him if he stays fit. We still have not, I don't imagine, seen the full potential and consistency of someone like Alan Saint-Maximin.
I
think he is their talisman. I think they need to build the squad around him. Because I think if you have the right squad around him, he will kick on. Miguel Almiron as well. We haven't seen the full bits of him yet, I don't think. With Newcastle, a lot of their attacking players change, but not a lot of their defenders. And I'd like to see Newcastle invest in more of a stalwart defender, someone who is going to be reliable, someone who's getting his head to about 90% of the balls that are coming into that box. I would honestly say, if Newcastle were to buy a defender that's currently in the Premier League that I think would do very, very well for them, I believe they could buy someone like Tyrone Mings. I think Tyrone Mings, because Newcastle do get peppered with a lot of attacks, Tyrone Mings is quite reliable in making sure the ball stays out. Either that, or they could be a new home for someone like Shkodran Mustafi.
Mm-hmm.
Because Shkodran Mustafi, I believe his time in the Arsenal first team is done. I think that season where he was making so many mistakes, did that for him. But I think he's got that kind of level head, because the times he has played this season and indeed last season, he hasn't made any glaring mistakes. His tracking back is good. His recovery runs are good. His heading, you can't doubt his things like his heading ability either. He has very, very good heading ability. I think Newcastle, if they were to purchase someone like Shkodran Mustafi, would be, is quite good. If you were to have someone like Mustafi there and Jamal Lascelles, I think that might be that'd be a fairly decent pairing.
So what? So D grade or D plus? Sorry, D plus. Aston Villa, Dean Smith, number 11.
I'd give him a solid C plus.
Yeah, I probably agree with you. They're not going to set the world on fire, but they have spent a bit of money and they've got a good team. And to be honest, they were one of my early season favourites to be down there amongst the relegation zone.
The fact that they managed to tie Jack Grealish down to a new deal as well,
was crucial.
That I think was their best bit of business this entire transfer window. They've got a solid goalkeeper in Emi Martinez as well. Yeah. He's now looking like he's playing. He's happy now. He's found his number one spot. Their midfield as well. I think their midfield is massively underrated. People like John McGinn, Douglas Luiz, Conor Hourihane, and things like that. Ross Barkley, yeah, massively. Ross Barkley, you can tell at Chelsea he was a bit of a sleeping giant, wasn't he? But he's done really, really well at Aston Villa.
Do you reckon he might sign for Aston Villa on a permanent deal in January?
I could honestly see it, absolutely. Because if you
that'd be a good bit of business.
Look at the players that play in Ross Barkley's position at Chelsea. Because Ross Barkley, he probably prefers himself as a cam, a central attacking mid, dictating the play. When you've got people like Mateo Kovacic, you've got Mason Mount pulling strings, You've got Kai Havertz there as well. That is so many potentially amazing players that are just going to keep you out. And bearing in mind, a lot of those players like Kai Havertz are still, I think, 21 or 22. Mateo Kovacic, 27, 28, and who was the other one I said? But yeah, they've got a lot of young potential world class players. And Ross Barkley, he's 29 now. He'll probably
Bring that
have
experience.
He brings the experience, but at the end of the day, for a club he will probably be better off being a big fish in a small pond. Same with Jack Grealish. Jack Grealish is a huge fish, but Aston Villa is still quite a small pond. I think he'll need regular game time for him to demonstrate what he's capable of, and I think Aston Villa will be the best place for him to do that.
C+ from me for Villa as well. So we move on. Wolves at 10th. I'm going to be controversial here and going to give them a D- because I think they've been quite disappointing. I think they should be in the top 7.
I would agree. I would go slightly higher with a D, just for the potential they have in their squad, and what kind of second half of the season they can have. I think you're right. They have been quite disappointing. I think they've relied a lot on. I think a lot of it comes down to things like squad depth as well. I think outside of their main players, they don't have that many other backup players that can step up. So, like when Raul Jimenez was out, they were playing a £40 million 18-year-old. Again, like Alan Saint-Maximin, Adama, he has so much talent, but his end product is so inconsistent. It's really, really, really a shame to see a team like Wolves who have got that much potential and it's not being taken. I think letting a player, looking back on it and seeing how he's performing, letting Diogo Jota go, huge mistake, and not replacing him. Wolves, again, we mentioned Ismaila Sarr going to Brighton earlier. Could you imagine having a winger pairing of Adama Traore and Ismaila Sarr? Imagine you're a fullback going up against Wolves and knowing that those are the two men that you've got to stop getting past you.
Yeah, I can imagine a few players cacking themselves for that. There are a few defenders cacking themselves. So you've gone higher than me on the Wolves grade. Yeah, go on. You go for.
No. I was just saying I'd go for a D for Wolves.
Yeah. All right, cool. This is where innuendo time. I come early. A grade for West Ham. Because I thought they'd be relegated.
I'd probably say A-, only because I feel like they've had some games where I felt they could have won and didn't.
Weirdly, I would say their best spell was when David Moyes had to self-isolate.
Yeah. I think if you'd asked me 2 months ago when we did this, I would have said they probably would have had a B-. But I would boost it up simply for the fact that that performance against Tottenham, that final 25 minutes against Tottenham, my goodness me, that was absolutely amazing. I think that Lanzini goal was on par with, because I think it was Martin Tyler commentating it. It was almost the Aguero moment. Lanzini!
Yeah, it was fantastic.
So I think the way they pulled it back and the way Tottenham have been flying, and for them to deliver that second half performance against them, I would honestly say I'd probably say West Ham's best player outside of Michail Antonio, obviously because he's getting the goals. I'd probably say is Jared Bowen.
Yeah, I'd go along with that. So an A grade from the both of us for West Ham.
I'd say A- for West Ham.
A-. So I've rated them slightly higher. I know you want to talk about Jared Bowen, but we really don't. I realise it's got 10 o'clock and we are overrunning. We're going to stay with it because we need to finish all these teams and then I'll go through the league table and you can depart once we've done all this because I can do that. 8th place, I'll let you start with this one. Chelsea 8th. What grade do you give them?
I'd give Chelsea a D
Okay.
because we sat here and talked about what Chelsea could do in the Premier League because they're just they had Timo Werner coming in, they had Kai Havertz coming in, they had Mason Mount who was doing really really well, they had a good defense, they have Thiago Silva come in. They had the issue with the goalkeeper, which I think they resolved. I think Edouard Mendy has the potential to do really, really well.
Better
But
than
to be in
Kepa.
eighth,
Yeah.
sorry,
Better than Kepa.
yeah, but to be in eighth position after all that money you've invested and these world class players that you've brought in, for someone like Timo Werner, someone who was knocking them in for fun in Germany, to come over here and not, he's not scored now. I don't believe in. I think about 8 games. Eight
Yeah,
games with no
it's
goals.
been. I was going to say I've been very, we were all talking about last season. Frank Lampard did a great job without signing anybody because Chelsea had so many young players that they used, and I was very disappointed that Chelsea seemed to ditch that model that made them successful. And I know Chelsea needed improving, and I'm not saying they shouldn't improve, but Pulisic was brilliant last season, and he's still got the potential to be one of the Premier League's best, but just get him on the pitch, man. So I'm going to give Chelsea, for the amount of money that they've spent, and this was always the worry with Lampard, that if he spent money, pressure, going to give him an F. I'm going to give him an F for Frank Lampard, because they should be a lot higher for the money that they spent. And hey, this isn't a Chelsea bias, because you better wait until I get to Man City and the grade that they're going to get. But yeah, Chelsea get an F for me.
I think I'd give them a D simply for the fact that obviously their performance haven't shown, but some players that they have got have come through, like Reece James, for example.
I will say their Champions League performance, if I was to bring that in mind, it'd probably be about a D. But because we're just basing it on Premier League, it's an F.
Yeah.
Manchester United, F for funny. No, I'm going to give Manchester United an E grade.
I would give them an E plus, simply for the fact that for their position in the table is not reflective of their performances, because some of their performances have been absolutely dire from certain players. The team as a whole is good, but it's individual cock-ups that let them down. So people like Harry Maguire, Paul Pogba, Fred, things like that. I'd give them the slight boost in grade for the work that Marcus Rashford's done. The only man in a Man United shirt that will walk in and probably get a round of applause at Anfield. Their performances are not reflective of their position in the table. If their performances were generated into results, they'd probably be the ones in about 14th, 15th place. But you've got to take your hats off them. You've ground out results, and at the end of the day, you can only beat what's in front of you. So, to grind out results as the way they have done, I'd probably give them slightly higher. I'd probably give them I'll give them a D minus actually.
There you go, an upgrade. There you go, Manchester United fans, a bit of an upgrade from Tom there. What I will say is that as a manager, Ole, and this does take into account his last interview before their final Champions League match where they lost to PSG and got knocked out. When he was talking about Pogba, I just knew that he's too nice to be the manager. And bearing in mind, I don't know what goes on behind the scenes. He could be an absolute hard as nail bastard behind the scenes. But I don't think that's true. I think he's too nice. And unless he turns around in January and tells Paul Pogba to F off, then he will never get my respect, I'm afraid. I don't care how many titles you won in Norway with Molde. You still got relegated with Cardiff City. You are not good enough to be Manchester United manager. So an E from me and what was it, D minus from you?
D minus, yeah.
D minus. Manchester City. I'll let you take this one.
I would give them a C minus. Because I think you're always going to expect big things from Man City, and don't get me wrong, they have delivered on some, but they are not finishing teams as they previously would have. Games where they probably be winning 4-0, they're winning 1-0, or they're drawing 1-1, being humbled at home by Leicester City. Not just the result as well, but the performance as well. If for a team like Manchester City, for Pep to spend the money on the defenders that he spent close to £500 million solely on defenders in his time there, and to still ship as many goals as you do, and not obviously you won back-to-back Premier Leagues, but for the money you're paying, you probably want to be winning them consistently, fighting for them, because they'll go. Not only that as well, but I think all the rage and all the pomp and circumstance around Pep Guardiola, a lot of it's now started. There are cracks appearing. I think some of the issues Manchester City have faced. One, they haven't replaced Vincent Kompany, who was a natural born leader. They don't have a long-term replacement for Sergio Aguero, which I think there's a very limited number of quality strikers that could properly replace Sergio Aguero. Manchester City are money bags. They could easily put their hand in their pocket and go out and buy Mbappe or something like that. But at the same time, there's very, very little in the way of players that they could buy that could replicate the amount of goals that Sergio Aguero has. I think they've left it too late. I think they're still relying on Sergio Aguero to get goals. They're relying on Raheem Sterling a lot for goals as well. But their biggest flaw, their biggest thing for me is the fact that they still have not replaced Vincent Kompany from when he left.
Yeah, I would go along with that. Their failure to replace Kompany as kind of, well, it's definitely hit them in a sense for goals. The only thing I like the fact that they rely on Raheem Sterling, because it brings out the very best of him, and I think, to be honest, he's never played better, and I love that. And for all the shit that we used to give Raheem Sterling. Like I used to give shit to Raheem Sterling, like how he wasn't. He was gonna. I think I called him the modern day John Barnes. Fantastic player for club, never delivers for England. But I can't say that anymore. I think he does. I think he delivers on both fronts. I think he's fantastic. I'm sorry, but if I give Chelsea a crap grade and I give Manchester United a crap grade, Man City obviously getting A grades from me because I'm biased. No, they're getting an F. They should be in the top 4. They should be competing with for the title. They should be, for the money that they spent, for the manager that Pep Guardiola is, and I've always said that players, that managers that are handed trophies on a silver platter are not good managers. They are just, their reputations are not proportionate to the level of success that they've had. Zidane, in my opinion, I've said it a million times and I'll say it again, is absolutely one of the worst man managers in world football. Gareth Bale is my example for that. How can you not manage Gareth Bale? How can you not do that? So for me, and I don't know what the weakness for Guardiola is, with Zidane I can pinpoint it. It is poor man management. I think he's a crap man manager. Guardiola I haven't taken the time to really analyse where I think he's weak. Where his weakness is. He is a weak. He has weakness.
His game is not evolving.
Actually, yeah, that's it. That's it. The same criticism that Mourinho had.
His game and the way he plays was revolutionary in probably about 2015 or 16.
Is he having the Arsene Wenger syndrome?
I wouldn't say Arsene Wenger syndrome. I think Arsene Wenger got to a point where he was synonymous with the club, whereas I don't think Pep is quite there yet. I think
in terms of style and play and because we talk about revolutionising the way that Arsenal played, the fitness and dietary changes that Arsene Wenger brought. He changed that club inside and out. And you can argue that for Pep at City, not in the same way and not to as good a degree, but it does kind of feel like, the football's not evolving.
You can see it. It's inherent there. And I think what we've got to understand is the fact that a lot of Manchester City's quality players they are getting old now. So like
Mm.
Fernandinho probably got one more season left before he retires. Obviously, David Silva's not there. Kevin De Bruyne now is 29. Um, so he'll probably have 2 or 3 more seasons at the top level before he goes off and makes his retirement money. He'll go off to a big money move to China or the MLS. Build his retirement fund.
Absolutely,
Um,
yeah, I could see that.
so I think they've got to invest a lot more now because teams that shouldn't be investing in younger players and more talent are in fact investing. Um, I would if I was to pick out a long-term solution striker for Man City that'll give them not anything pace, goals, strength, technical ability for someone who's not that pricey either. I would say for Man City to go out and go get Erling Haaland from Borussia Dortmund.
Good champ. Yeah,
Because
I agree with you there.
who did his father Alf Enger Haaland play for before he got forced to retire by Roy Keane?
I just had to Google and find out how old Aguero was. I didn't realize he was 32. Um, yeah, didn't realize he was 32. I thought he was like 30. I knew he was 30. I thought he was like 30 or 31. I thought he had a bet. He's probably got a year. Unless he's like Jamie Vardy and he just lasts forever.
He probably. I mean, you can tell Aguero's lost a step definitely in the pace department as well.
Yeah.
Jamie Vardy won't lose that because it's the only technical ability he's got. I think Aguero. I mean, a lot of Argentinian players, a lot of these South American players will go and make their fortune. Then they'll spend their twilight years of their career at their boyhood clubs. You see it with Carlos Tevez. You see Messi will probably go out and do it. That a lot of them go out back to their former clubs. Like David Luiz has said at the end of his current Arsenal contract, he'll want to go back to Benfica, where he started his career. So they always go for the nostalgia trip before they end up hanging the boots up for good. So I think that's what Aguero will do. He'll go back to Argentina, play for his boyhood club, and then call time.
Yeah. So F grade for me for Manchester City, and what was it? Was it C minus or D minus?
C minus.
C minus. Fifth place, Southampton. I think they're doing very well. I think shockingly and surprisingly so, because I would have put Ralph Hasenhüttl as one of my favourites to be chopped, because Southampton, I'm not going to say their current owners, but their previous owners had a reputation for just getting rid of managers, and the amount of managers that they've gone through, they have their own rap sheet. So I would have thought that Ralph Hasenhüttl would have got the chop at some point. I'm not a person that sits here and goes, "Oh, I want this manager sacked. I want this manager sacked," because it'll make things interesting. No, I'd rather, managers have time and be able to assert their style. I think he's definitely asserted his style on Southampton. The way that they play is just fantastic, and I genuinely believe that they will be in the Europa League next season. Genuinely believe it.
I think
maybe that's a gross overestimation.
I think Southampton, I'd probably give them an A minus for this season.
Yeah, I'd go along with that. I'd agree.
I think
A minus, B plus for me. I think.
What would stop them for me for getting the full A grade is they've played well, but they've had the potential to do better. And like some of the other teams we've mentioned, they've lost games where they could have easily got a result from. They could have easily got a point or all 3 points from. So, I mean, their potential there. I mean, let's not deny it. Some of their young players, the young players that come through Southampton, are probably some of the best young players to ever come out. This is a youth academy that churned out Theo Walcott, Gareth Bale, Oxlade-Chamberlain, things like that. It's a club with great history as well.
Can I just say that Theo Walcott back at Southampton, brilliant bit of business. Brilliant.
That was a genius stroke, because you're bringing back a man who's not enjoyed his football for the last few years, now coming back and feeling completely refreshed again. It doesn't matter the age a lot of the time. Sometimes they just need that new lease on life where they want their attack at the moment. I'm loving the combination of Danny Ings and Shea Adams up top. 100%. I've got to say, I love that. Their midfield as well. James Ward-Prowse has been one of the most underappreciated England midfielders, probably for the last 20 years.
I'm just looking at their results, and then just looking at the results from Southampton this season. And you know, when I thought Ralph Hasenhüttl was going to get sacked when they lost to Tottenham, and I think it was when they lost at home to Tottenham 5-2. Back in August, when they lost that game 5-2, I thought you're not going to last until the end of the season. And then they went on to beat Aston Villa at Villa Park by 4-3, and I thought, okay, you might just see it out. And then they've just been sensational. 3-0 win against Sheffield United. Okay, yeah, they lost 1-0 to Man City today, but they're Man City. They got a point against Arsenal. They beat Brighton by 1-0. They got a point against Wolves. They beat Newcastle. They beat Everton by 2 goals. They were the first team to beat Everton this season, weren't they? 2-0.
Yeah.
Everton were on a mammoth run before they came a cropper against Southampton. Yeah, okay, you can argue Everton were down to 10 men, but Southampton outplayed them. You know, Southampton were the better team on the day and deserved to win. And I think it was the Everton result where I kind of had to concede that I was wrong about Ralph Hasenhüttl because of that 5-2 defeat to Tottenham. And when they beat Everton, I was just like, okay, I'm wrong about you, aren't I? So I think they've done brilliantly well, and for me, it's a big plus. I should give them an A-. I should go along with you, but I'm just going to be contrary and just say B+. Leicester City, we're in the top 4. They're 4th at the moment. I'm going to give them a C grade, purely because that's where I imagine Leicester City want to be. They want to finish. You know how Arsenal used to, and no offence here, celebrate winning the 4th place cup in the Premier League. You know, that trophy that you get for finishing 4th in the Premier League. And that's what I think Leicester want.
Yeah, I agree. I think they want to replace. I think they want to be the next team in the top 4. I mean, they've got, you know, they don't have a position in their team where they're weak in. You know, they've got a good goalkeeper, they've got a solid defense, they've got a really really good attack. You know, I think their best signing, I think, from the summer has got to be that Cengiz Under. I think he has the potential to be special, and I think, you know, my gut tells me that he would probably sign permanently. Because of how much he seems to be enjoying playing there at the moment. Again, Leicester probably lost some games that they could have won.
Fulham.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, again, they're another team that are reliant on one person who's getting quite old. They're relying a lot on goals from Jamie Vardy and probably not looking towards more strikers that are replacing them. Because if Jamie Vardy's out of a squad, the person who comes in is Kelechi Iheanacho. You know, he is never, ever going to replicate the goal tally that Jamie Vardy can provide for Leicester City. So I think the next season, I think the next 2 transfer windows are going to be crucial for Leicester City. If they want to build on the amazing team they have built behind Jamie Vardy, they are going to need to look at the next person they're going to bring in to essentially replace Jamie Vardy, because this would be the time to nurture him, get someone under Jamie Vardy's wing, someone who has a similar playing style, and then essentially that's your future secured. I think if Leicester City were to bring in, I'm trying to think of a striker now, that'd be quite good for them.
To be honest though, there's no one quite, in my opinion, like Jamie Vardy, because I've said it before, he's still got his pace for a guy in his, what is he, 33, 34? He's not 33. He's still got pace, because not because so you compare it to Aguero, and you know, Aguero uses his pace all the time. Jamie Vardy has the knowledge when to use his pace. He knows when to switch it on and switch it off. And sometimes you'll see a ball go into the box that Jamie Vardy isn't going to go for because he's already judged it and said, I can't score from here, so I'm not going to go for it. But then there are other times where he goes, right, if I switch on, get that, and put it in the box. And I think, and I said it before, he is, for me, the best positional forward in the Premier League. He always finds himself 99 times out of 100, he's always in the best positions to score anyway. And I think he just has that better than any. I think he has that skill locked down better than any other striker in the Premier League. His positional play is the best.
I would agree, because what you see a lot of these days, definitely a lot of strikers at the moment, coming deep to receive the ball. But then that's a testament to Leicester City's creative ability in the middle of the park, for the fact that Jamie Vardy doesn't have to go searching for the ball, about 40 yards out of his position. He could rely on the players behind him and either side of him to get the ball to him so he can score. If I'm trying to think of someone across Europe who I could honestly think could replace Jamie Vardy and potentially his goal tally as well, I think that they would not be. I'm trying to think across all the leagues. Do you know something? Do you know who I could really, really see Leicester City potentially buying? And this is the God's honest truth.
Go on, Farrell.
I see Leicester City going for someone like Memphis Depay.
Ooh, that's a shout. I don't see that happening though. It's a shout. It's an off. Yeah. Go on, justify it.
He offers a lot like Jamie Vardy. He's quick, he's strong, his technical ability is sound. He finds the back of the net. He knows to play. He has got the ability to sniff out when the opportunity is right. I think, obviously, his reputation in the Premier League is probably a bit tainted from his time at Man United. But I think a move that big was probably too soon for him. For him to come in, and then a lot of the team's performances were reliant on how well he played. I think now that he went to Lyon and reinvented himself, that could be ideal. Or if we want to talk about Brendan Rodgers' previous links, why not bring from Celtic Odsonne Edouard to Leicester City?
I'm just looking at it, and apparently Memphis Depay. How much do you reckon you'd pay to sign him from Lyon? Obviously, his contract is up in the summer. How much do you reckon he's worth?
I'd probably go no higher than about 45 million if his contract's up in the summer.
So his contract is up in the summer, and he is expected. So, get this. This is going to blow your mind. 5 million euros.
Really?
5 million euros. So Leicester City jump on this. 26 years old. Apparently Barcelona are the club that are going to make a 4.5 million euros. 4.5 million euro offer, Barcelona. Arsenal. You're saying Arsenal jump on it?
No, we haven't had a great Dutch player in the team since Dennis Bergkamp and Mark Overmars.
Oh, Dennis Bergkamp. Apparently, Memphis Depay is looking at a switch for 4.5 million euros to cash strapped. It says in this article, Barcelona. Get rid of Messi, and you'll be fine. I think this is the great conundrum, and it's going to. I fear for Leicester are post Vardy that they're going to be searching for a long time. You've seen clubs that have quality players, but when their time is up, those clubs just go right down the league, and I just see that happening for Leicester, and I don't want it to happen. And the reason I've given them a what did I give them, a C grade? The reason I gave them that is, yes, they've won 3-0 against Brighton. They've won against who else? They won 1-0 away at Arsenal. They won 4-1 against Leeds, but they have lost 2-1 against Leicester. They did lose 1-0 at home to Aston Villa. They did lose at home 3-0 to West Ham United. And yes, they beat City 5-2, but you can't beat City 5-2 and then lose to Fulham and get a better grade than a C grade. You need to be, and to be fair, you can argue, the players are motivated because they're playing Man City. You need to be motivated to play Fulham as well. You need to be motivated for every game. There's no easy games in the Premier League. Yeah. Tottenham.
And Tottenham. Oh, this one's going to hurt. God, it's like having a really jagged poo trying to grade this one.
I,
You
I,
know,
I, do you want me to take over? You can grade Everton and Liverpool. Do you want me to? I
no,
can
no,
help you here. No, you're gonna
no.
bite the bullet.
Yeah, I'm going to bite the bullet. I'm going to keep clenched and give them a grade. Um,
What grade are you pooping out?
um, I would give them a B, solid B.
Why are you giving them a B?
I would say they've performed well. They've got some good results to them. Obviously, they did that 6-1 drubbing over Man United
That was very
at Old
impressive, by the way.
Trafford.
Very impressive.
Um, I think the combination they've managed to get from Harry Kane and Heung-min Son is absolutely unstoppable at the moment. Heung-min Son's knocking the goals in for fun, as he usually does. I think a lot of people. I mean, when you think about it, they bought him from Bayer Leverkusen for 22 million.
He's
A
worth
lot
his
of
weight in
people look
gold.
at what. Yeah, a lot of people look at players like Mohamed Salah and Sadio Mane for absolute bargain buys. But Heung-min Son for 22 million for Bayer Leverkusen about 4 years ago, that is an insane piece of business. The fact that Harry Kane as well is homegrown as well, their attacking
And from the
talent,
Tottenham Academy as well.
yeah, their attacking talent cost them essentially 22 million, but the pair of them to each individually are probably worth over 100 million each, I'd say at the moment.
And I believe Son and Kane are now joint with Alan Shearer and Chris Sutton for the most assists in one season. So I think Sutton and Shearer had 13, and that was the most in Premier League history. Son and Kane have now matched that with 13 assists with each other. So they're easily going to break that record and take that record from Shearer and Sutton, which is one less thing for Shearer to talk about on Match of the Day.
Yep. I hope, do you know what? Just to hear Alan Shearer shut up for a bit, I'd like Harry Kane to break the record because he's well on the way to doing it. You know, Harry Kane's got years and years and years ahead of him.
Yeah, he will. He's going to do it totally. So you gave them, sorry, remind me, which grade?
I gave him a B.
B.
The only thing that stops them, the only thing that stops me from giving them an A is the fact that every season after the Christmas, Tottenham have a string of bad results and bad performances. You know, they go off the boil, they lose sight of everything. They think that they're in the position they want to be, so they almost take the foot off the gas a little bit. So that's the only bit that concerns me.
They have been historically guilty of doing that. I mean, results like the 5-2 win against Southampton. I mean, and the 6-1 win against Manchester United. But then you've got to look at results like the 1-1 draw against Newcastle. That's not a good result if you're Tottenham. The 3-3 draw against West Ham, which we were talking about so fondly earlier, that's not a good result. You know, the 2-0 win against Man City, very good result. But, you know, you've got to take it, and the Arsenal win as well. But then you can't draw against Crystal Palace.
Yeah, it only takes for one of those two players to get injured as well for the whole house of cards to come falling down. Because last season, Harry Kane was out for a good few months, I believe, and Tottenham just weren't the same without him. I think it takes for one of those two to get injured. Tottenham, for me, do not have the squad depth of quality players. I think
you said it earlier, didn't you?
Yeah, I think Son and Kane's performances carry a lot of the team. I remember last season and possibly the season before, obviously Lucas Moura was quite instrumental to the team. He was quite he's very difficult, but you know, he very rarely gets into the team these days. Now with like Bale back and things like that.
And Bale's barely played.
Yeah.
That's the weird bit.
But also as well that you can argue that Spurs' defence is still quite makeshift. I mean, you've got Eric Dyer, who's naturally a midfielder playing at centre back. He's gone on record and said that he enjoys playing at centre back, which is absolutely fine. But at the same time, do you know what? If I was honestly going to pick the best buy for Tottenham in the transfer window, it wouldn't be Bale. It'd be Reguilon.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah.
Because that right hand side was so leaky when, you know, Ben Davies was first choice. Never properly replaced Trippier. Trippier himself had on and off days. He had a good corner and a good free kick on him. He was at a great attacking fullback, but at the same time, with a lot of fullbacks these days, they lack the defensive quality. The same argument could be for Trent.
Yeah, yeah. Tottenham for me, they get A minus. I think at the start of the season, I said Mourinho is going to get found out because he's a bygone era manager, and I said he would be my favourite to be the first sacked, but ahead of the Premier League season. This is where I eat my own words and say actually Mourinho's done a very good job, and they're third in the league. They're going to finish in the top four without a doubt. For me, even if Kane or Son just do get injured, I think the other one's as good as the other to be able to counterbalance that. I still think they'll get goals. They won't get as many, but they'll still get goals. And of course, you've got Gareth Bale, so who I'm apparently the world's biggest fanboy of, even though I'm not. I just don't like Zinedine Zidane. Everton, A+. Beautiful.
A+.
Did not see this. Did not see it. Did not see it coming. I didn't think Carlo Ancelotti would get sacked or anything. I just saw them finishing 7th. And hey, there's half a season to go. But
fantastic transfer business, absolute amazing transfer window, getting people like James Rodriguez. So their midfield, if you think they have an attacking 3 midfield, Abdoulaye Doucouré, Alan, James Rodriguez. What better combination of strength, quality, technical ability, and attacking prowess? Absolutely fantastic.
Say, you know who I'm so impressed by? Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, he's so good. And I didn't expect it. I didn't expect to be singing the. I said A+. I mean A star. The top grade goes to Everton, as far as I'm concerned. Maybe that's overload, but I just love it.
No bias here, but at the moment, I'd probably rate Dominic Calvert-Lewin higher than Harry Kane.
Yeah, you do.
I think when the Euros come about next year, I want Dominic Calvert-Lewin leading that line, because he offers a lot of what Kane doesn't. Obviously, Kane's got a lethal shot on him, but Dominic Calvert-Lewin, his vertical jump, his speed, his ability to hold up the play and link the play, he's got a good pass on him. You can see it revitalised in England performances. When I can't remember who we played. When we played Wales, you could see he wanted it, whereas Harry Kane was almost. Sometimes when England aren't kicking on, Harry Kane becomes a passenger in his England performances.
Yeah, that's a fair criticism.
Dominic Calvert-Lewin, he was running after that ball, he was chasing it down, he was getting it in the final third and driving to the edge of the box. His vertical jump is absolutely unbelievable. His standing jump is, completely unquestioned. It's a nightmare for defenders for a man that is quick, accurate in his shooting, and is a lethal header of the ball. The fact that he's 22, that means he's got years and years ahead. He's going to be playing at the top level. I would not be so. Everton, I think, if he keeps scoring in the same vein he is, they are going to struggle so much to keep hold of him. But the plus side to that is if they can't keep hold of him, because he's an English player and he's kicking on as much as he does, they can charge a king's ransom for him.
Oh, yeah, totally. He's 23, and he has got a massive future ahead of him. My issue was with Everton that they were spending a lot of money on players. And I think I told you this during the transfer window show, that they were spending money on players that were very good players in their own right, but were kind of the best of the rest. They weren't outstanding when they were at big clubs. They were big club signings that were just kind of like when Mesut Ozil left Real Madrid, he wasn't really needed. Like Gylfi Sigurdsson wasn't really needed when he left and then went to Everton. Like the players that they have are the best of the rest. Like James Rodriguez was not needed at where was it? Real Madrid? Yeah, it was Madrid, wasn't it? He wasn't needed by Real Madrid. He was an outcast of Real Madrid. He was an offshoot of Real Madrid. So they had the players that were the best of the rest. But by God, they've done a brilliant job with those players that I once dubbed best of the rest. Makes me look like a bloody idiot.
But I think that's because like a bloody idiot. Because they've done away with the uncertainty around their careers, they're playing with a new lease on life. We said it about Walcott. We said it about, you can say it about James Rodriguez. For good 2 or 3 years, he's had such uncertainty around his career that now he's got a solid place at a club who can really kick on. And I think Everton, for me, I'd probably give them Europa League minimum. They will get minimum Europa League.
I think fifth place would be very disappointing from an Everton perspective. I'd like to see them compete with Leicester for fourth spot. I think it's between Leicester and Everton for fourth this season. I really do. I don't think Chelsea are in there or
What I'd also like to
United.
point out as well is it's an amazing job that they've done when you get the best out of a player like Alex Iwobi.
Oh yeah, and Richarlison as well.
I really dislike Richarlison. Never before have I seen a player cry so much about not being Neymar.
That is true, but I just do like the way that they play. And Delph has actually got a seemingly good opportunity there at Everton. My one gripe, and I gave them an A-star grade. Of course, we can't ignore the fact that yes, they drew against Burnley. Yes, they lost to Leeds at home. Yes, they lost to Newcastle. Yes, they lost to Southampton. My biggest complaint about Everton, and this is where they are weakest, and are the other co-presenter of my show, who is a Liverpool fan and cannot stand Everton, has said.
Can I make a guess as to say who you're going to say?
Go on.
It's Jordan Pickford.
Yes, Jordan Pickford, England's number one. That is their issue. I believe they need a better goalkeeper.
100%. I believe they do as well. I would say if they want to go get a decent goalkeeper, I think they would be able to entice a goalkeeper like. Do you know what? I'll go out on a limb. I think there's two keepers they could go out and get. One is the backup keeper from Barcelona, Neto, who is Brazilian, and I think he's worked with Ancelotti before.
Oh yeah, because yeah. Because he would have managed him.
The other one being the Inter Milan goalkeeper, Samir Handanovic.
Okay, I'm going to throw a name because I think they've been very. So this player is already playing the Premier League and he's on loan at a Premier League club, but I think he's very good, but is in the wrong club. He's conceding goals, but I don't think he's a bad goalkeeper. Alfonso Areola from Fulham, who's currently on loan for PSG. Areola, sorry.
Basically, Alfonso Nipple.
Yeah, exactly. Alfonso Areola. I think he's fantastic. I think he's done a disservice by playing at Fulham. I think he's better. I think he's made some fantastic saves, and if given an opportunity at a club like Everton, I think he'd be their number one. I think he'd be like Edwin van der Sar was at Fulham.
Can I also make a suggestion?
Fire away.
Sergio Romero.
Ooh.
Because with Man United, I think both David De Gea and Dean Henderson, Sergio Romero. All right, he doesn't play, but his goals to game ratio is much better than David De Gea's.
Okay. All right. Okay. You've won me over with. I'm not convinced by that one. I've got to be honest. He's only played 7 times for Manchester United, but I know he's their third choice now behind Hendo, because it's De Gea, Hendo, then
Romero.
You see, I think Romero's a good number 2. That's how I see him.
I will throw one more name out there. I will throw one more. The guy currently plays in Turkey. He's the Dutch number 1. It's Jasper Cillessen.
Okay. Which teams does he play for?
I think it's either I think it's Galatasaray.
Because there was so yeah, I gotta be honest, I'm not aware of this guy, so I can't give you stats or anything like that. Although on the Wikipedia page it says Tim Krul is the number 1 for the Netherlands. That's bull. So that's clearly not true. Yeah, I would just say Everton need a goalkeeper. Unfortunately, they need to ditch Jordan Pickford. And heck, I want England goalkeepers to play as much as possible.
Nick Pope.
Yeah, I don't want Jordan Pickford to have another. I don't want another Joe Hart. I don't want Jordan Pickford to lose his confidence. I don't want him to have a bad career post the big club. I want Jordan Pickford to do well, because if he does well for his club, then he does well for England. But Everton need a better goalkeeper. Quickly, there is only one club left. Instant A-star from me. Liverpool, top of the Premier League.
I'd give them an A.
Why not an A-star? Why are you not giving them the top grade?
I still don't think that they've kicked into top gear yet. I still think that there's plenty more to come from Liverpool, and I think some of their performances if Liverpool were to keep their star players fit, I think I would give them an A-star. I want to see more from some of the summer investments they've made from people like Thiago and things like that. I really, really, more than anything, want to see Minamino get a regular starting place, because I feel like he's done so well. For me, another thing is, if Liverpool are top of the table by the end of Christmas, 100% I give an A-star, because they've done it without Virgil van Dijk.
Yeah, that's why I gave them an A-star, because they did it without Virgil van Dijk. And they by the way, they will be top at Christmas because they won 7-0 today. So they are top on Christmas. Whether that remains on the 26th of December remains to be seen. But for me, because they don't have Van Dijk, that is why I give them an A-star, because they have that hole in defence, but they've been able to cover it well. And yeah, they've had some ropey results here and there, unless we forget the absolute drubbing that they got at the hands of Aston Villa, a 7-2 defeat. That was I'm just going to put that day down to an absolute freaky day, because that was the same day that Manchester United lost 6-1 at home to Tottenham, and for Aston Villa to let 7 in it away at Villa was a bit of a freaky day. I think they've done okay. Yeah, go on.
It was funny because that was the day. It just seemed that all Spanish goalkeepers got together and said, "Yeah, we're going to play really shit." So Adrian David De
Gea. Totally. Of course, they haven't been. Yeah, as you say, Tom, they haven't fired on all cylinders. They did get that 1-1 draw against Brighton, which isn't a very good result. They didn't play the most convincing football against Sheffield United when they won 2-1. Yes, they lost 7-2 to Aston Villa. They drew 2-2 in the Merseyside derby, a game that they would normally go on to win. And I remember the opening day where they beat Leeds United by 4-3. But I think the 7-0 win today, I'm looking at their fixture list, and I just think they're going to win a lot of games now, because they've got West Brom next. They've got Newcastle away. Then they're away at Southampton. That's going to be the tough one. Then Aston Villa, a return to Aston Villa in the FA Cup third round. I don't think that's going to be the same result. And then I think they'll beat Manchester United, which is who they play after that. So I do see them winning a lot more matches. And without Van Dijk, everyone thought they were going to struggle. And I also said at the start of the season that if Liverpool focus on multiple competitions, then they will not retain the Premier League. They have focused a little bit on the Champions League. They're focused a little bit on the Premier League. I think they've done pretty well to get all that done. I mean, the early exit from the EFL Cup may have helped them to some regard. But I've just been reminded that Mikel Arteta has already won a trophy this season. The FA Community Shield. So he has actually won 2 trophies at Arsenal. I was wrong earlier when I said he'd only won 1. For me, without Van Dijk, I give them an A-star, and I agree with you in the sense that they will kick on and get better, but I don't see anyone really challenging Liverpool for the title unless Everton pull off a blinder of a second half of a season, or Tottenham pull off a blinder of a second half of the season. I can see Liverpool running away with this.
Yeah, I agree.